This is the Lombardi Line with Michael Lombardi and Patrick Meagher on VSiN.
Okay, Lombardi Line on a Friday. Let's ride. Now I'm playing as we welcome you in. It is, of course, Michael Lombardi. I'm Patrick Meagher. This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Imagine if I did start the show that way. Hey, Lombardi Line, let's ride. That's the way your boy Russell Wilson ends every conversation. As we open up the conversation, we may need to bring in, I don't know, like a third party to help us work through what we saw. Maybe lay down on the couch over there in your office, because that 12-9 win for the Colts, 7 field goals made, 15 penalties, 12 punts. The teams combined to go 6 for 31 on third down. That was something. Hi, Michael.
Hi, good morning, Patrick. How are you? I mean, it was everybody saying this is bad football, but you can't take your eyes off it. That's how bad it was. I mean, to me, it was I compared this to the article I wrote. It was like watching, and nobody probably will get this analogy, but back in the 40s, boxing was big sport, and we had 2 great champions one time. Joe Louis, who was declining. He was broke. He came back from the Army, but he was a tremendous fighter, and he needed money, so he fought Jersey Joe Wilcock. And Jersey Joe needed money, too. They were both aging heavyweights, and one was a champion. And they fought at Yankee Stadium, and Joe won a decision that the fans booed. And then they came back 2 years later. They fought again, and everybody in attendance knew that these guys can't fight anymore. I think we all saw that those 2 quarterbacks on the field are aging, and they're not the same players, and they're declining heavyweight champions at one time. And Russ more so than Ryan, because Russ has $240 million walking around his neck. Ryan, doesn't have that kind of contract. So to me, it was about where are we going, what's going to happen in Denver, and how they can continue to play like this and think that they're going to compete at the highest level is remarkable to me. So I actually liked watching it, because to me it was what not to do in sports, what not to do, right? Like, okay, your left tackle's a rookie, didn't practice all week, has a high ankle sprain, but he's out there playing, and you don't give any help to the left tackle. Okay, that's something you shouldn't do, right? Like, you should kick a field goal when you go up 6, because you could have given them the ball back on the 5-yard line and said, okay, you got 20 plays to get a touchdown. They probably wouldn't have scored, the Colts, right? It just, what not to do should have been the title of that game.
The title of the article references the Lombardi Look-Ahead. I got a chance to read it this morning. VSiN pros can find it over at VSiN.com. You got the quarterback rankings, you got the line of the week, you got the team rankings, you've got the boxing anecdote, and you've got the return of Hall & Oates in the mix as well.
I can't go for that.
No can do. Okay, we'll get to the Colts in a second. Let's start with Russell Wilson. Let's start with Nathaniel Hackett. Let's start with George Paton. But there are 2 plays in particular I want to start with and get your take. The first one is up 3. The Colts have no timeouts left. It's 2:19 to play. The Broncos are up 9-6. 3rd and 4, Colts 13. And Russell throws a terrible pick to Stephon Gilmore. Your thoughts there? You got to pick up the first down. Instead, they're going for the home run.
Well, I mean, look, at this point in the game, the clock is your opponent. I know you're only up by 3, but if you were watching the game through the entire game, you realize that Indy was never going to score. I mean, what did they have? They had 6 drives where they didn't even get a first down on. Like, they can't protect the passer, so how are they going to make an explosive play? And I'm not sure Ryan could throw the ball over 20 yards anyway. So, like, why not just keep running it, let the clock milk down, get to the 2-minute warning, kick your field goal, make it, go up 6, kick off, kick it in bounds, make them have to work the ball, make that offensive line protect. Like, you got a double chance. You left yourself open for criticism on 4th and 1 when you didn't kick the field goal. You recovered from that, and now you're going to do this? I mean, every decision that Nathaniel makes seems to be no applied to what's going on the field. He's making them in a vacuum, because he's looking at somebody say, okay, we got to go for it here because of the analytics. And if you don't apply the game situation to the analytics is going to leave you hanging.
On to the next one. remember, they added a game management coach with Nathaniel Hackett. This week, they added another assistant for in-game management. Here's the final one, okay? Down 3, overtime. 4th and inches, Colts 5. What are you going to do? They take 2 timeouts. At one point, they had Russ under center. They take a couple of timeouts. Look what the defense is giving. They come out with Russ in shotgun, which lets the defense know you're going to throw the ball. Michael, I played was high school football. I could see it was cover 1. I could see it was all man. Aren't you just essentially looking off the safety and finding the guy, KJ Hamler, on the slant, right? Instead, there's 2 things. 1, Russ makes a terrible decision, incomplete, tries to force it to Sutton. And then 2, why aren't you running the football and picking up the first down there from under center? Why aren't you sneaking the ball? It's inches.
Well, I've said it on this show. I've said it before, and I said it on Pat McAfee. Everybody laughed at me. Most important position now in football is a quarterback that'll actually sneak the ball. Wasn't that obvious last night, huh? I mean, if you just sneak the ball, and you know what's made it? I was on the phone with a friend of mine who's a former coach in the league, and we were just talking about what we were watching last night, and they didn't even have 2 A-gap players in there. They knew they weren't going to sneak it. Like, they were just indifferent to the sneak. Like, they don't have to defend the sneak. You don't even have to defend it, right? Like,
the Colts, you're saying the Colts didn't even pretend.
They didn't even pretend to defend the sneak. They didn't even pretend to. They just said, "The hell with it." And Hackett walks out of the game. I listened to his press conference after the game, and he's like, well, the best thing we wanted to put the ball in Russ's hands. Okay, put it. Have you been watching Russ play? Do you really want the ball in Russ's hands? Like, I didn't listen to the broadcast, but if somebody wasn't killing Russ during the broadcast, they weren't watching the same game I was watching. Like, he was Jersey Joe out there. He wasn't the same player. I took a lot of grief this week on McAfee because I used the line that I use here all the time. He's not cooking at the French Laundry. He's at the Hackensack Diner. I'm not sure. I think I'm insulting the Hackensack Diner the way he's playing.
We're going to hear from Russell Wilson. We're going to hear from those involved in whatever the hell we watched last night. That, to me, to not just try to pick up that first down, Nathaniel Hackett. So Russell Wilson, 0 for 6 as far as passing attempts in the end zone, including a pick. He's 2 for 18 passing attempts to the end zone this year. That's the worst in the NFL. They were terrible in the red zone again. They're the worst red zone offense, the Broncos, in football. Stephen Bond, let's hear from Russell Wilson. I'm sure no cliches here used.
I didn't come up with the way I know how to, tonight. We felt like we could have. And like I said, I let us down. But, I know I'm a winner. I know that I'm a battler. I know that I'm going to keep going and keep believing. There's so much season left, like I said. There's so much opportunity left. And I believe in these guys every day. And I know they believe in me, too. We believe in each other. And so I'm looking forward to turning it around. I'm looking forward to turning around because when we do, it's going to be a special story when we do.
Okay, so a couple of things. One, today has been used social media and various shows. It's an outlet to make fun of Russell Wilson as a person. We're not going to go there. I mean, he is cheesy, he is cringy, he's all those things. He's insincere. However, let's just stick with on the field because you had your bottom 5. He didn't make the bottom 5 as far as quarterbacks in the look ahead as far as Lombardi. He's close, man. He's not very good.
He's close. Look, anything I say about players or coaches, it has nothing to do with their personalities or I dislike them. I'm just trying to always try to be honest with people that listen to our show because we have such a huge gap of honesty. Nobody wants to say anything. As I've said before, as Cosell once said, if you see it, you've got to say it. Like, Russell's not playing well, and so why? Okay? And it's not his personality, and it's not his diva-ness, and it's not his, his cliches. It's simply this. When you watched him last year in Seattle, his movement, his lower body didn't have any juice in it, okay? He wasn't able to run. He wasn't able to create. He wasn't able to escape from anybody, right? He had 183 yards rushing. He couldn't make Russ-like plays. It was clear on the tape. Now, everybody said that was an anomaly. Well, it's not. It's clearly on the tape. He can't make plays with his feet. His lower body has left him. The legs in his lower body. The reason I used a boxing analogy to start my column is because with boxers, we can see when a boxer's done. Everybody in Yankee Stadium in 1948 knew Jersey Joe and Joe Louis were done. They knew it. Their legs were gone. They couldn't avoid the punch. They couldn't make a punch. everybody knew last night both quarterbacks are at the end of their careers. Now, you could manage Russell a little bit probably better because Matt Ryan can't move a little bit. But in terms of taking you to the level, in terms of him being a top 5 player in the National Football League, those days are long gone. They were long gone in Seattle. Seattle last year, when you look at where they are averaging 23 points a game. Last year, they averaged around 23 the same. This year, they're averaging 6.3 yards per play. Last year with Russell, they averaged 5.4. Let's just put things in perspective. Let's stop trying to make this personal. Let's stop making this personal, right? I would never have told you that Geno Smith is a better player than Russell Wilson right now. But Seattle obviously knew that. I didn't. Seattle did. Clearly, Denver did. But Russell is not playing anywhere close to Geno Smith in terms of completions, in terms of percentage, in terms of looking up the field. The other reason I bring up boxing is because when you get hit as much as Russell has gotten hit, and Matt Ryan, your eye level comes down. Boxers' eye levels come down. They start reacting to punches that aren't even thrown. That's what I see with Russell. That's what I see with Ryan.
I guarantee you the Denver Bronco defense is pissed. 6 sacks last night, 2 picks. In 6 games, the Broncos have scored 16 or fewer points. In 5 games, the Broncos offense have scored 16 or fewer points in 4 of those games. Broncos defense is legit. The offense is a disaster.
And they had more points scored last year, Patrick. 19 they averaged last year with the law firm of Bridgewater and Locke. This year with Wilson, they averaged 15.
And that was with the fossil Vic Fangio doing his thing.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds. Listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.